Okay, so when you open up RStudio, your screen will look something like this. There are several different panels in RStudio, and this one right here that is under the Console tab, this is R itself. Now, RStudio is a sort of user interface development environment that is meant to assist you in making use of R itself, so it's kind of wrapped around R. Very rarely will you actually use just R alone. I would recommend using RStudio to help you make use of the full capabilities of R. Now here in this R console, which is this tab that my cursor is currently on, this is where code will be sent, code will be run, and you'll get values returned. So for example, if in this console I type 2 plus 2 and hit enter, it returns a value of 4. I can run any number of mathematical operations here, using asterisks for multiplication, using slashes for division, and R will function simply as a calculator and return those values if I hit enter. Now this code that I have just sent to R here is not actually saved anywhere. If I want to save my code for future reference or for sharing with somebody else or for attaching alongside a publication, R alone is not going to be much help. What you need to do is go here to File, select New File, and at kind of the basic level, just select RScript. And RScript is simply a text file. This is a file where you can actually type your code in, and you can then save your code as a text file. And whenever you run code from your RScript, it will send it directly to R here in the R console in the bottom left. You can see that it looks a little bit different here, and you'll notice that if you try to run code using enter, as you did in the R console, it will not work. The more you type enter, it'll simply just create new lines and return your cursor to the next row. In order to run code here in an RScript file, let me drag this over a little bit, you can first click this run button. That's one option. If you hit that, it will send this code down to the R console. It will return a value. That's a little bit time-consuming. You don't want to have to click that button every time you want to run code as you're typing stuff on your keyboard, so it's easier to use a keyboard shortcut. The default keyboard shortcut for returning code, for running code in RStudio, is Control-Enter, and if you run that, it will send that code down to your R console. I should note also that there is also the ability to run the entire R script at once, and if you were to hit Control-Shift-Enter, that's what would happen. So all of that code that I just typed there, these 3 mathematical operations, whenever I hit Control-Shift-Enter, they all got sent down to my R console, and I got the outputs there. So that's how R and RStudio are working at this very basic level of just running mathematical operations. But of course, R is so much more than just this. The key feature of R that really changes the game, so to speak, is the ability to create what are called objects. And you do this as such. So if I type some letters here, I just typed OBJ, but you can call it anything you want. This is what our object is going to be called. So I type OBJ, and then next I type this, which is a less than sign followed by a hyphen with no space in between. This is called the assignment operator, and this is what R uses to assign values to objects. So in this code here, I have OBJ, assignment operator, and the number 2. If I run this, notice down here in the R console, I didn't get a value, right? It just returned the code. And what this is saying is that I've just created an object that now contains this number 2, because I took the number 2 and I assigned it to this OBJ object. And of course, as you can see over here in the environment, which in this top right tab of RStudio, you can see this tab called Environment. This contains all of the objects and data and whatnot that you read into R and create in R. And you can see that there is a value here. obj is an object, and it contains a value of 2. I can also do more complicated things. I can say 2 times 2 and run that, and now it takes 2 times 2 and assigns it to the obj object. And you can see now that obj here contains the number 4. So this is a really important thing that unlocks a whole bunch of potential in R and RStudio. You can make these mathematical operations a lot more complicated if you want to, and do a whole bunch of different things. And as I said, of course, you can call these objects anything you want and assign whatever you want to them. So now I've got an object called anything you want, and I assigned 2 times 2 to that object.